The day had come. Humanity would finally take its place among the Galactic Council, not as observers, not as guests, but as a species recognized for its courage, intelligence, and integrity. Captain Mira Saeed stood on the observation deck of Starfire, looking out at the enormous glowing towers of the Council station. The blue and green of Earth was just a small dot in the distance, but now, its people would be acknowledged by civilizations across countless galaxies. Inside the Council's chamber, representatives from hundreds of species gathered. The hall shimmered with energy, color, and light, reflecting the diversity and history of the galaxy. Some were ancient beings, their forms as old as stars themselves. Others were young and ambitious, like humans, eager to prove their worth. Yet all eyes were on the crew of Starfire, the representatives of a species no one expected to arrive so boldly, so quickly, and with such dignity. Jaril, the flowing energy being who had overseen the trials, addressed the assembly. Humans, you have traveled farther than many believed possible. You have faced tests of intelligence, morality, and courage. You have acted with wisdom and integrity, often when others would have chosen fear or advantage. The Council has observed your actions carefully. Today we recognize your achievements. A hush fell over the chamber. Mira felt a mix of pride, relief, and humility. This moment was more than recognition. It was the validation of centuries of human curiosity, effort, and perseverance. You have earned a place as an observer with full privileges, Jaril continued. In time, and with continued demonstration of your values, you may become a full member of the Council. But today, your contributions and conduct have proven your potential. Welcome, humanity! Applause echoed through the chamber, though it sounded different from human clapping. Aliens emitted sounds, light pulses, vibrations, and energy waves, but the message was clear. Humanity had earned respect. Humanity had arrived. As the crew returned to Starfire, the atmosphere was electric. Dr. Lena Osei smiled at her teammates. We did it. We're officially part of the galactic conversation. Not just conversation, Mira corrected gently. We've proven that humans can act with responsibility, intelligence, and compassion. That is what truly matters. The recognition brought immediate opportunities. Council representatives invited the humans to collaborate on scientific projects, interstellar trade negotiations, and diplomatic missions. For the first time, Earth was no longer just a small, distant planet. It was a partner in shaping galactic decisions. One of the first missions involved a humanitarian effort. A young alien species had been struck by a severe environmental disaster, and their home planet was in danger of collapse. Humans worked alongside Council engineers, sharing technology and knowledge, helping to stabilize the planet's atmosphere, repair infrastructure, and provide sustainable solutions for the future. Captain, Aaron Chen said as they coordinated efforts from the ship. They're amazed by our solutions. They said no species had ever approached the problem with this combination of creativity and practicality. Mira nodded. That's humanity. We survive and thrive by working together, by thinking beyond the immediate problem and by caring about life itself. This is how we make our mark. The efforts strengthened Earth's reputation further. Many species began to see humans as reliable partners, capable not only of innovation but also of ethical decision-making. Humanity's ability to balance ambition with responsibility set them apart from civilizations that relied solely on strength, wealth, or age. In the midst of these achievements, the Krint faction, the group that had doubted humanity from the start, approached Captain Mira privately. Their leader, a stern being with sharp crystalline limbs, spoke cautiously. Your species has surprised us, the Krint said. We expected recklessness or weakness. Instead, you've shown intelligence, courage, and compassion. We admit our misjudgment, Mira smiled. Thank you. We are still young, but humanity learns quickly, and we hope to continue learning from the galaxy and sharing what we can in return. The Krint nodded and retreated, their skepticism replaced with a grudging respect. Humanity had not only proven themselves to allies but also won over critics, showing that true strength lies in character as much as technology or power. As days turned into weeks, Starfire became a symbol across the galaxy. Other young civilizations looked to humans as examples, proof that determination, unity, and moral courage could overcome expectations and prejudice. Humanity had risen not by conquest or dominance, but by embodying qualities that many older civilizations had lost over time. Despite the recognition, Mira remained humble. She gathered her crew one evening in the observation deck. "This is only the beginning," she said, her voice steady. "We have made our first mark among the stars, but the galaxy is vast. Challenges will come and we will face them together. Our responsibility is to remain true to our values, to continue learning and to help others whenever we can." The crew nodded, understanding the significance of their mission. Humanity had achieved much, but the future held even greater possibilities. They would explore uncharted systems, build alliances, and ensure that Earth's people contributed positively to the galaxy. The final test of their journey came unexpectedly. A rogue group of explorers from another galaxy attempted to claim a newly discovered resource-rich planet, threatening a young civilization. Many council species hesitated, fearing conflict. Humans acted decisively, but peacefully. Mira led negotiations between all parties, combining intelligence, creativity, and moral reasoning. Using a proposal that balanced fairness, sustainability, and cooperation, she convinced the explorers to share the planet's resources and respect the rights of the indigenous species. The Council, observing the resolution, recorded this as one of humanity's most significant achievements to date, solving a potential crisis without violence or domination. The galaxy began to see a new pattern. Humans were problem solvers, peacekeepers, and innovators. Even the oldest civilizations acknowledged that Earth's people had something special: an enduring courage, a drive to explore, and a moral compass that guided every decision. As Starfire prepared to return to Earth briefly, the crew reflected on the journey. They had traveled from a small blue planet to the halls of the Galactic Council, faced trials, saved lives, navigated diplomacy, and proven that humanity's spirit could shine even in a galaxy far older and more complex than their own. Mira looked at the stars stretching endlessly before them. "We've arrived, yes," she said softly, "but this is only the start. Earth has a place among the stars, and humanity has a responsibility to honor it. We will explore, learn, and contribute, always guided by courage, intelligence, and compassion." The crew agreed silently. They had seen the galaxy in ways no human had ever seen, faced challenges no Earth-born human had faced, and proved that their species belonged not through fear or dominance, but through character and ingenuity. As Starfire prepared to chart new courses for Earth's first missions as a recognized member of the galactic community, Mira felt a quiet pride. Humanity had not only survived the journey, they had inspired countless civilizations, earned respect, and begun a new chapter in the story of the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries and challenges yet unseen, but for the first time, humans would not merely look at the stars, they would shape them, contribute to them, and travel among them as equals. And so, Starfire moved forward, carrying the hopes, dreams, and courage of all humanity. The blue planet of Earth was no longer a distant, isolated world. Humanity had arrived, and its story among the stars had only just begun. Captain Mira Saeed gazed into the endless black, dotted with shining suns and distant worlds. She smiled, knowing that Earth's people had earned a place among the stars. And in that moment, the universe seemed a little brighter, not because of light alone, but because humans were there to explore, to learn, and to inspire. Humanity had taken its first true steps into the galaxy, and the stars would never forget. The fires on the first planet still burned when the Dauntless shifted orbit to the second target, a planet named Veralia by the alien survivors. Unlike the first, Veralia was a dense jungle world, its skies thick with green clouds and its surface hidden by tall, twisting vegetation. The distress signal had come from multiple colonies, scattered across the equatorial regions, and the urgency of their cries was growing. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge, observing the planet below. "This one looks more difficult," she said quietly. "Dense terrain, little visibility. The invader could strike from anywhere." Lieutenant Kieran Hale frowned. "Visibility is poor, Captain. Direct assault may be too risky. We need reconnaissance first. Drones will only show us the surface, not what's hiding beneath." Ilara nodded. "Then we adapt. That is what humans do best." Her words were calm, but her eyes shone with determination. Humanity thrived where others hesitated. They innovated, they improvised, and they never gave up. Reconnaissance drones were launched again, their sensors slicing through the dense canopy. Images returned of villages partially destroyed, Fires burning uncontrolled and alien citizens trapped by fallen trees or destroyed walkways. Some attempted to fight the invader with primitive weapons, but they were hopelessly outmatched. "It's worse than I imagined," murmured Ensign Leora, one of the human medics. "These creatures don't even know how to defend themselves." "They are learning now," Ilara replied. "We'll show them how." Ilara's strategy was simple but risky. Humans would split into teams, one to extract civilians and protect them, the other to engage the invader indirectly, gathering intelligence and weakening their formations. Unlike most armies, humans were not just a fighting force, they were problem solvers. Each mission would challenge the invader's assumptions, forcing it to react to unpredictable tactics. As the first extraction teams descended in hovercrafts, the aliens stared with wide eyes. They had never seen humans move with such confidence and precision. Even under fire, they acted calmly, assessing situations and making split-second decisions. One village was surrounded by the invaders' robotic drones, metallic creatures with sharp edges and glowing red optics. They fired relentlessly, aiming to destroy everything in sight. Humans responded not with brute force alone, but with clever strategies. Captain Ilara had predicted the invaders' attack patterns using drone sensors. She directed a small team to cut through the forest canopy, creating false trails and decoys. When the invaders' drones followed, humans triggered hidden pulse emitters that disrupted the enemy's targeting systems. The metallic drones floundered, colliding with trees or spinning out of control while the civilians ran toward safety. Lieutenant Hale led the extraction teams on the ground. "Keep moving, stay low, and follow the signal markers," he instructed the terrified aliens. "We've got you." The aliens hesitated at first, unsure whether to trust these strange, towering beings. But seeing humans risk their own lives without hesitation built trust quickly. When a human soldier leapt across a burning gap to rescue a trapped alien child, it spoke louder than words ever could. Humans were not only strong, they were fearless, compassionate, and precise. Meanwhile, in the deeper jungles, Ilara coordinated a separate operation. A squad of human engineers and tacticians set up ambush points along paths the invader had used repeatedly. They created traps that used gravity fields and electromagnetic pulses, something the invader had not anticipated. When the enemy arrived, it was caught off guard, forced to retreat and rethink its strategy. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Ardent's interface displayed a constantly updating map of the battlefield. "Captain," the AI reported, "the invader is demonstrating adaptive behavior. It is learning from each encounter but remains vulnerable to unpredictable human tactics." Ilara allowed herself a small smile. "That's exactly what we want. They expect brute force, but humans are not predictable. Let's keep them guessing." Hours passed, and slowly human efforts began to turn the tide. Civilians were rescued and safe zones were established in cleared areas. Fires were controlled, and medical assistance reached those too injured to escape on their own. The aliens, initially paralyzed by fear, began to follow human guidance, learning to defend themselves in small ways. They built barricades, set early warning signals, and coordinated with human squads in ways that showed the spark of understanding and trust. Yet, the invader was not idle. It adapted quickly, sending elite units to ambush human teams. During one encounter, a reconnaissance team was nearly surrounded. The alien drones were precise, moving in formations that humans had not anticipated. A tense firefight ensued. Ilara acted decisively. Using satellite-controlled pulse lasers, she disrupted the invaders' formations just long enough for her soldiers to retreat safely. Then, with human ingenuity at its finest, she deployed a secondary tactic: smoke-dispersing drones that confused the invaders' targeting sensors. The enemy paused, scanning and recalculating, unable to predict human improvisation. When the dust settled, humans had not only survived, they had gained the upper hand. The invader, for the first time, faced an enemy that refused to follow conventional patterns. It learned that humans were adaptable, fearless, and relentless. Later, Ilara walked among the rescued civilians, offering words of comfort through translators. Their language was strange, musical, but they understood her intent. She smiled softly, noting the cautious hope in their eyes. "We're here to help," she said. "You are not alone." An elder alien stepped forward, his eyes glimmering with both fear and awe. "Your people?" "They are different. Strong, clever, and kind," Ilara nodded. "Humans fight hard, yes, but we fight to protect, not to destroy. That is what makes us effective. The day ended with humans setting up a temporary command post coordinating with the alien survivors. They shared knowledge of survival, simple defensive tactics, and ways to reinforce damaged structures. It was not just about winning battles, it was about teaching others to endure and thrive, even in impossible situations. Night fell over Virelia. Fires still burned in distant villages, but the glow of human hovercrafts moving between safe zones gave hope. Ilara stood on a ridge overlooking the dense jungle, thinking of the battles yet to come. The invader was clever, dangerous, and relentless, but humans had something no machine or alien force could match: adaptability, intelligence, and courage that refused to yield. Lieutenant Hale joined her. "Captain, they're learning." "The aliens? They're starting to fight back in small ways, but still effectively. Your strategies are working." Ilara shook her head slightly, eyes on the horizon. "It's working, yes, but this is only the beginning. The invader will adapt again, and we must be ready."
"Humanity does not just survive, we prevail."
"That's what we will show them." As she spoke, a faint signal reached the Dauntless, another colony in distress even further out. The invader was spreading, striking relentlessly, and no one else would intervene. The signal was urgent, a cry echoing across light years. Ilara's eyes narrowed. "We move to the next planet at first light. Every life we save strengthens the galaxy. We cannot fail." The human crew of the Dauntless prepared for another descent, fully aware of the danger but unwavering in purpose. They were the answer. The lethal force that fought not for conquest but to protect and inspire. Across the stars, the invader would come to learn that humans were unlike any enemy it had faced before. Unpredictable, inventive, and fearless. And in the forests and cities of Virelia, alien eyes watched in awe. These humans were not just soldiers, they were saviors. And their presence marked the first true turning point in a conflict that had seemed hopeless. As the night deepened and stars sparkled above, Ilara whispered to herself, "We fight not because we want to, but because we must." That is what makes humanity exceptional. Somewhere across the galaxy, the invader recalculated, its glowing red optics scanning for the source of resistance. It had underestimated humans once, but it would learn quickly. When the universe cries out for help, humans answer. And when humans answer, the outcome is never in doubt. The Dauntless left Virelia's orbit before dawn, slipping silently through the void. Captain Ilara Voss studied the star map projected before her, highlighting the next colony in distress, an industrial world named Zarian. Reports indicated the invader had already taken heavy control, and intelligence suggested civilians were trapped in sprawling factories and urban centers. "Zarian is densely populated," Lieutenant Kieran Hale said, leaning over the console. "If the invader has established strongholds there, a direct assault could be catastrophic." Ilara's eyes narrowed. "Then we do what humans do best, think differently. We strike where they are least prepared, force them to react to us, and turn their strength into weakness." The crew nodded, familiar with Ilara's methods. Humans thrived in situations others considered impossible because they could adapt, improvise, and exploit opportunities no one else noticed. Reconnaissance drones were deployed, flying above the sprawling factories and crowded streets of Zarian. They relayed images of alien civilians hiding in crumbling buildings and narrow alleyways, terrified of robotic invaders patrolling the streets. Unlike earlier engagements, this invader was more cautious, almost calculating in its approach. It seemed to anticipate human tactics, probing, testing, and adjusting its formations. Ilara studied the images carefully. "It learns fast," she murmured, "but humans are faster. If we change the rules, we control the fight." She divided her forces into two specialized teams. One team, led by Hale, would focus on civilian extraction and protection. The other, including elite tacticians and engineers, would disrupt the invaders' patrols, creating chaos and confusion. Their combined objective was simple: save lives, weaken the enemy, and study its patterns for future strikes. As the hovercrafts descended into Zarian's industrial zones, the streets below were alive with tension. The invaders' robotic units moved in precise formations, their red optics scanning for targets. Humans were outnumbered, but that did not matter. Strategy, unpredictability, and clever use of technology were the tools that would give them the edge. A convoy of invader drones approached a crowded marketplace where civilians were trapped. Hale's extraction team split into small squads. Using the city's crumbling infrastructure as cover, they deployed holographic decoys to draw enemy fire and triggered electromagnetic pulses from hidden positions. The drones faltered, their systems temporarily disabled. Civilians ran toward safety as humans cleared paths with efficiency and care. Meanwhile, Ilara's disruption team moved through the factories. Engineers hacked control panels, shutting down conveyor belts and activating emergency barriers that trapped invader units in narrow corridors. Tacticians set traps using magnetic fields and automated drones. The invader advanced cautiously, its advanced intelligence struggling to predict human innovation. One soldier, Corporal Rena Voss, no relation to the captain, leapt onto a high platform and deployed a pulse grenade, disabling a group of approaching enemy drones. The machines toppled like falling trees, their coordination disrupted. She called out over comms, "Area secured. Civilians on the move." The alien civilians watching these events were astonished. They had seen humans fight before, but here, in the heart of an industrial city, humans demonstrated a lethal combination of courage, intelligence, and precision. Every move was calculated, yet spontaneous when necessary. A perfect balance of creativity and discipline. As the humans advanced, the invader adapted. Robotic patrols became more cautious, deploying automated traps and scanning for anomalies. It sent faster, more heavily armed units into the streets. Yet every adaptation revealed a weakness that humans could exploit. Ilara noted patterns in their movement, their predictable responses to pressure. "Adaptation is their strength," she said to Hale, "but predictability is their weakness. We just need to force them to overreach." Hours passed in tense engagement. Civilians were rescued, hiding places were reinforced, and the invaders' forces were gradually pushed back. Yet the enemy was clever, often disappearing into hidden tunnels or industrial shafts, waiting to strike when humans least expected. The battle tested human creativity to the fullest. Ilara ordered the use of improvised tactics, triggering controlled collapses of factory floors to trap enemy units, creating holographic illusions of large human squads, and using electromagnetic interference to confuse invader targeting systems. Each maneuver forced the invader to react, constantly adapting but unable to predict the human's next move. During one operation, a reconnaissance squad discovered a hidden invader command hub. It was heavily defended, but humans saw an opportunity. Using drones to create multiple distractions and deploying teams in unexpected pathways, they infiltrated the hub, gathering vital intelligence on the invaders' command structure and tactics. This information would prove crucial for future operations. Inside the hub, Corporal Rena carefully scanned the control panels. "Captain, we've got schematics of their patrol routes, weak points, and response triggers. This is what we need to plan the next phase." Ilara's eyes lit up. "Excellent work. Prepare to relay it to the bridge. This is exactly why humans are effective. We don't just fight. We learn, adapt, and improve every step of the way." By nightfall, the streets of Zarian were quieter. Civilians were safe in temporary shelters, and humans had established forward positions in strategic locations. The invader had retreated into tunnels and industrial complexes, wary of further human tactics. As Ilara walked through one of the safe zones, alien survivors gathered around her. Their expressions were a mixture of awe and gratitude. "Your people. You fight with your mind, not just with weapons," an elder alien said. Ilara smiled. "Humans fight with everything we have, our courage, our creativity, and our will to protect. That is why we survive. That is why we can save you." The aliens listened carefully, beginning to understand that humans were not like any other species they had known. Humans were dangerous, yes, but in a different way. Lethal not just in combat, but in thought, planning, and adaptation. They solved problems, turned weaknesses into strengths, and refused to yield. Meanwhile, on the Dauntless, Ardent analyzed the invaders' retreat patterns. "Captain, the enemy is showing coordinated adaptive behavior. It is learning from each encounter but remains vulnerable to unpredictable human tactics." Ilara nodded. "That's exactly what we want. They expect patterns and humans break them. We'll keep them off balance until they make mistakes, and when they do, we'll be ready." The humans spent the night planning the next day's operations. Small teams would sweep remaining industrial zones, while engineers continued to reinforce shelters and teach basic defensive strategies to the aliens. The focus was not just on victory but on empowerment. helping the alien survivors understand and use their environment to survive future attacks. At dawn, the first teams moved again, this time with even more confidence. Civilians, now following human guidance, helped carry supplies, monitor streets, and even signal humans when invader units appeared. Small victories built momentum, and morale rose not just for the humans but for the alien population as well. Alara stood once more on the observation deck of the Dauntless, watching the city below. Fires were still present, but smoke no longer choked the streets. Humans had made a difference. They had shown the alien survivors that there was hope, that even in the darkest moments courage and intelligence could turn the tide. She whispered to herself, "This is what humans do. We face danger, we adapt, and we survive. And when others cannot, we answer the call." Suddenly, a new signal reached the ship. It was faint, urgent, and from yet another planet. The invader was spreading, striking further colonies, leaving destruction in its wake. Humanity's mission was far from over. Alara's eyes hardened with determination. "Prepare the fleet for hyperspace jump. We move immediately. Every colony we save strengthens the galaxy. Every life we protect proves what humans can do." Lieutenant Hale joined her, a small smile breaking through the exhaustion on his face. "Captain, the aliens are starting to see us differently. They call us saviors. That's not just morale, it's a force multiplier. They fight when we fight, and that makes us stronger." Alara nodded. "Exactly. Humans inspire, humans endure, and humans never give up. The invader may be smart, but it has never faced humans at full strength, at our most creative, most relentless, and most determined. We are the galaxy's answer when all hope seems lost." Across Zarian, alien civilians now moved with cautious purpose. Streets once empty of life were filled with people carrying supplies, signaling human teams and helping protect the wounded. Humans had done more than rescue. They had taught hope, resilience, and ingenuity. As the Dauntless prepared for its next jump, Alara reflected on humanity's unique abilities. They were not invincible, but their intelligence, creativity, and courage made them lethal in ways the universe could not easily predict. Every challenge was an opportunity, every enemy an equation to solve, every rescue a demonstration of what humans were capable of. And somewhere in the shadows of the galaxy, the invader recalculated, uncertain now, facing a species it had not fully understood, one that fought not just with weapons but with minds, hearts, and a will unbroken by fear. Humanity had entered the fray, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Dauntless glided silently through the void, approaching the invader's home system, a stark and barren star cluster known as Kryn. Its sun was pale, casting long shadows over jagged asteroid belts and scorched planetary surfaces. Reports indicated massive enemy fortifications, automated defense grids, and elite invader forces awaiting any intruders. Captain Ilara Voss stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the projection of the system. "This is it," she said, her voice steady. "We're at the source of the invader's strength. Every move from here will be critical." Lieutenant Kieran Hale studied the data. "It's a fortress, Captain. The invader's defenses are advanced and layered. Direct assault would be suicide." Ilara nodded. "Then we do what humans do best, use intelligence, strategy, and creativity. We will turn their strength into weakness." The first step was reconnaissance. Drones deployed from the Dauntless scouted asteroid belts and orbital installations. They recorded automated weapons, surveillance systems, and troop movements. The invaders' units were highly efficient, moving in tight formations and using adaptive tactics that mirrored human strategies. An unsettling realization. Ardent, the ship's AI, projected the findings. "Captain, the invader is learning rapidly from our previous encounters. It is adapting to human tactics but remains vulnerable to unconventional strategies." Ilara's lips curved into a determined smile. "Then we go unconventional. Prepare for orbital disruption and ground infiltration teams. Hovercrafts and transport pods launched from the Dauntless, weaving through the asteroid belts to avoid detection." Alara divided her forces carefully. One team would target key enemy installations, disrupting their communications and power grids. Another, led by Lieutenant Hale, would focus on civilian rescue and protection, if any were left in the outskirts of the invader's control. As the first squads landed, the starkness of Kryn became clear. Cities were constructed from black metal, jagged and towering, giving the impression of lifeless fortresses. The streets were empty, the silence broken only by the occasional hum of enemy patrol units. Yet the invader had not abandoned the planet entirely. It was waiting, calculating, ready to strike at any hint of weakness. Ilara's ground team moved with precision, using the terrain to their advantage. They avoided open streets, relying on cover, drones, and strategic maneuvers. The invaders' patrols were fast and adaptive. But humans were faster, thinking 2 steps ahead, predicting movements, and improvising in ways machines could not fully anticipate. During one encounter, a squad came under fire from elite enemy units. They were heavily armored and relentless. Corporal Rena Voss, stationed on a high ridge, deployed pulse grenades and controlled magnetic fields that knocked the enemy off balance. At the same time, engineers hacked surveillance nodes, temporarily blinding invader sensors and giving human squads a tactical edge. Ilara's strategy was simple in principle, but complex in execution. Force the invader to fight on human terms, not its own. By creating unpredictability and attacking multiple weak points simultaneously, humans exploited the enemy's reliance on calculation and pattern recognition. Lieutenant Hale coordinated civilian evacuations in the outskirts. Alien survivors, inspired by human courage, followed instructions and helped secure pathways, carrying supplies and signaling teams when enemy units approached. It was a coordinated effort of humans and allies, a demonstration of collaboration and ingenuity that the invader had never anticipated. Hours passed in tense engagements. Humans infiltrated key command centers, shutting down power grids and disrupting automated defenses. They laid traps along patrol routes and used decoy holograms to confuse the enemy further. Every move forced the invader to expend resources and rethink its strategy. Ilara watched the operation unfold on her console. They are clever, but humans are relentless. Keep the pressure. Force them to make mistakes. A sudden alert flashed across the bridge. A small human reconnaissance unit had been trapped in a narrow industrial sector. Enemy units were closing in fast. Ilara acted without hesitation. Deploy extraction drones and support fire immediately. No one is left behind. Within minutes, the trapped unit was freed. Humans had used a combination of distraction, clever navigation through narrow passages, and precise firepower to rescue their team. No alien units could have done it with the same speed or ingenuity. It was a lesson the invader would remember. Humans do not abandon their own. By nightfall, humans had secured critical positions. Key enemy installations were disrupted, patrol patterns broken, and civilians relocated to safe zones. The invader, for the first time, seemed uncertain, adjusting its strategies constantly in response to human unpredictability. Ilara walked among the safe zones, speaking with the alien survivors. Humans fight not just with strength, but with intelligence. Every challenge is an opportunity, every danger a puzzle, and every life we save strengthens the galaxy. An alien engineer struggling to rebuild a damaged shelter looked at her with awe. Your people, they are different. Strong, yes, but also clever and fearless. They do not fight for themselves, they fight for others. Ilara nodded. That is what makes humans effective. We fight for life, for hope, for those who cannot protect themselves. That is why we endure and why we prevail. The night was quiet but tense. Ardent warned of increased enemy activity in the northern sectors. Captain, the invader is reorganizing. It may attempt a counteroffensive at first light. Ilara's eyes hardened. Then we prepare. Humans do not retreat when faced with superior numbers or firepower. We adapt, we plan, and we fight with everything we have. Dawn broke over Kryn, pale sunlight reflecting off black metal structures. Enemy forces moved with renewed aggression, attempting to retake lost ground. Hovercrafts and robotic units advanced, but humans were ready. They had fortified positions, laid traps, and coordinated with alien survivors to create layers of defense the invader could not predict. The first wave of invader forces met with unexpected resistance. Pulse barriers, magnetic traps, and automated drones disrupted formations. Humans countered with clever maneuvers, striking from unexpected angles using high vantage points and knowledge of the terrain. The battle unfolded like a game of chess, each side anticipating the other, but humans always a step ahead. Ilara directed her teams with calm precision. Divide and surround. Force them to fight on our terms. Protect the civilians at all costs. By midday, the invader had suffered significant losses and was forced to retreat into heavily fortified zones. Humans pressed their advantage. careful not to overextend but relentless in their assault. The alien survivors had begun assisting in small ways, setting early warning signals and clearing pathways. Every life saved reinforced the human advantage, turning despair into hope. Ilara paused on the observation deck of the Dauntless, watching the battlefield below. Smoke rose from collapsed structures, but lights moved through the city, humans and aliens working together, reclaiming the planet piece by piece. Lieutenant Hale joined her. "Captain, the invader is recalculating." They expected fear, chaos, and surrender. Instead, they find strategy, courage, and unity. Humanity is changing the battle before it's even fully joined. Ilara nodded. "That is the strength of our species. We do not just respond, we innovate, adapt, and endure. The invader underestimated us once, and it will not happen again. Every colony we save, every life we protect, proves that humans are more than fighters. We are the galaxy's answer." By nightfall, humans had established command centers, forward positions, and safe zones across Kryn. The invader had retreated into isolated fortresses, hesitant to advance further. For the first time, it seemed uncertain, facing an enemy it could not fully predict. Ilara reflected on the human qualities that had turned the tide: intelligence, adaptability, courage, and unity. These were not weapons in the traditional sense, but they were more lethal than any gun or bomb. When combined with technology and determination, they made humans unstoppable. As she gazed at the horizon, lights from recovered zones twinkled like stars across the barren landscape. Civilians were safe, buildings were being reinforced, and hope, once thought lost, was returning. Humanity had proven itself not just as a warrior, but as a savior, a force capable of challenging any threat and prevailing. The invader, deep within Kryn's fortresses, scanned the horizon with red glowing optics. It had learned to fear humans, not for their numbers or their weapons, but for their unpredictability, intelligence, and relentless determination. Humans were lethal in ways the universe had never seen. Ilara whispered quietly, almost to herself. "This is humanity's stand. We fight not for glory, not for conquest, but for life. And when we fight for life, nothing can stop us." Across the galaxy, the signal of human courage spread. Planets in distress sent silent prayers into space, and for the first time, those prayers had answers. Humans were coming, and when they arrived, they did not fail. The battle for Kryn was not over, but humanity had shown the first true demonstration of its lethal edge. The invader would face challenges unlike any before, and every step of the way, humans would prove why they were the galaxy's most adaptable, intelligent, and relentless force. Hope, courage, and ingenuity had become weapons more powerful than any missile, more decisive than any strike. Humanity had arrived and entered. In the silent stretches of the outer galaxy, a lone signal echoed through the void. It was faint, almost lost in the hum of distant stars, but it carried a tone of desperation no one could ignore. Deep within the bridge of the human warship Dauntless, Captain Ilara Voss leaned forward, her eyes scanning the incoming data. The ship's AI, Ardent, had detected it first, highlighting the signal in bright orange across the console. "Captain," Ardent's calm voice filled the room. "A distress signal has been detected in the Zarak system. It originates from multiple sources, indicating widespread emergency. The frequency matches no known human or allied channels." Ilara's brow furrowed. "Multiple sources? That sounds coordinated."
Can you trace it back to a specific location?
"Attempting. Signal originates from the surface of 3 inhabited planets within the system. Transmission patterns suggest urgent appeal for assistance. Alien life forms are present." The bridge fell silent. The crew glanced at one another. Humans had encountered many alien civilizations before, some friendly, some hostile, but a cry for help like this was unusual. And yet the raw urgency in the signal demanded attention. Ilara took a deep breath. "Bring up the transmission." The large view screen flickered and resolved into a pulsing, almost holographic display of alien figures. They were humanoid, but unlike any species the humans had catalogued. Their skin shimmered with soft hues of silver and blue, and their eyes reflected fear. Pure, unfiltered fear. A voice broke through the static. It was urgent, fragmented, and desperate, yet its message was clear. "Help, invader, destroying everything. No one else can stop it." The bridge crew leaned in. Every word carried weight. Humanity was known for its adaptability, courage, and resourcefulness. But did they dare intervene in an alien conflict so far from known space? Alara tapped her chin thoughtfully. "Put the signal on loop," she ordered. "I want to study it." Ardent analyzed the invader mentioned. "Anything in historical data that matches these descriptions?" The AI's interface glowed as it sifted through vast databases. "No confirmed matches, Captain. The invader's capabilities are unknown. Patterns indicate advanced tactical thinking, adaptability in combat, and significant destructive power." A murmur ran through the crew. Advanced, adaptable, destructive. This could be dangerous, perhaps more than anything humanity had faced in distant space. Lieutenant Kieran Hale, the ship's tactical officer, leaned forward. "Captain, we don't even know their motives. If we intervene, we could be walking into a trap." Alara met his gaze firmly. "And if we do nothing, these colonies die. That signal isn't just a call for help, it's a plea. They are counting on someone. We are the closest capable force. If anyone can save them, it's us." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. They had heard stories of humans being both unpredictable and unstoppable. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its combination of intelligence, courage, and willingness to take risks when others hesitated. But was this situation one where that strength could shine, or where it could be tested to its breaking point? Ardent spoke again, calm and precise. "Recommended course of action. Assess planets for damage and hostile presence before engagement. Tactical advantage can be gained by establishing orbit first." Alara nodded. "Agreed. Prepare for immediate departure. Inform all crew members to stand by for possible combat scenarios. This is not a rescue mission. We are the answer to their cry for help." Within the Dauntless, preparations moved swiftly. Crew members ran simulations, adjusted defensive systems, and reviewed planetary maps. The atmosphere was tense but focused. Humans excelled under pressure, and every action reinforced their reputation as a disciplined and relentless force. Hours later, the warship exited hyperspace near the first planet. Through the viewports, the crew saw the aftermath of devastation. Cities lay in ruins. Massive craters scarred the landscape, and smoke rose from countless points of destruction. The aliens' once thriving civilization now seemed fragile, teetering on the brink of extinction. Alara's jaw tightened. "This is worse than we imagined. Deploy reconnaissance drones immediately. We need eyes on the ground." Small drones launched from the Dauntless, flying over the planet at high speed. Their cameras transmitted back images of chaos. Streets littered with debris, alien ships burnt to rubble, and survivors running, hiding, trembling. The invaders' signature was evident: precision strikes, ruthless efficiency, and an almost calculated cruelty in every attack. Lieutenant Hale's voice was tense. "Captain, these invaders aren't just attacking, they're studying. Every move seems designed to anticipate and counter any defense." Ilara's hands clenched around the edge of the console. "That's exactly why we need to be unpredictable. Humans don't just respond, we innovate, adapt, and fight back in ways no one expects. That's how we survive." The Dauntless's AI projected a 3D map of the planet, highlighting clusters of survivors. "Captain, suggest immediate extraction of civilian groups using hovercraft teams. Direct engagement with invader forces should be minimized until assessment is complete." Ilara nodded. "Agreed, assemble strike teams. We'll split into 2 groups, one to secure civilians, one to gather intel on the invader. This is about saving lives and learning our enemy. Move fast but stay smart." Minutes later, small squads of human soldiers descended to the planet's surface. Their armor gleamed even amidst the dust and smoke, a symbol of hope in the darkness. The aliens looked on, startled at the humans' confidence, their precision, and their courage. Even under fire, humans moved with purpose, unflinching in the face of danger. One alien child, hiding behind a collapsed wall, stared wide-eyed at the humans. One soldier knelt, offering a hand. "It's okay," he said gently. "We're here to help." The child hesitated, then took the hand. A flicker of hope passed through the alien eyes, a feeling they hadn't experienced in days. Humans were dangerous in battle, yes, but they were also willing to protect those who could not protect themselves. Meanwhile, Ilara coordinated from the Dauntless. Each move of her troops was calculated, every strategy tested against the invaders' patterns. She realized that the enemy was clever, adapting quickly, but humans were faster. Their ingenuity allowed them to anticipate and counter every tactic. Drones, guided by AI, disrupted enemy formations, while soldiers set traps that drew the invader into predictable responses. Hours turned into a tense day. The first waves of survivors were secured, transported to safe zones, and given medical attention. Humans taught the aliens basic defensive maneuvers, demonstrating their willingness to empower others rather than dominate. It was not just strength that won battles. It was knowledge, collaboration, and the ability to inspire hope where none remained. As night fell, the fires on the horizon cast a dim glow across the ruined cities. Ilara stood on the observation deck of the Dauntless looking down at the chaos. Her crew had performed admirably, but the fight was far from over. The invader would not rest. They were too intelligent, too relentless. Yet for the first time since the distress signal had reached them, there was a spark of hope. Humanity had arrived not just to fight but to be the answer. And in that moment the outer reaches of the galaxy seemed just a little less hopeless. Ilara whispered more to herself than anyone else. If anyone can stop them, we can. Humanity always finds a way. Below, the aliens gathered in small clusters, their fear slowly giving way to curiosity and cautious trust. Humans were not like the invader. Humans were different. They were lethal, yes, but also merciful and brave. They fought not for conquest, but for life itself. The first part of the battle was over, but the war had only begun. And across the stars, a new reputation for humanity was quietly taking shape, a reputation that would echo through the galaxy. When the universe cried out for help, humanity was the answer.